Okay, good morning. You caught me off guard. Sorry, I was just pushing all the buttons here. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and the program is Agenda. And today's agenda, we are going to be covering that topic that we read in the paper yesterday regarding the Filipino seafarers or seamen who may eventually be pushed out of the jobs market because of ridiculous claims, because of legal claims for compensation that were being charged to their international employers by local lawyers who the organization called ambulance chasers. But before all of that, we are going to, of course, cover the news, and the news is largely about the press conference or conversations that President BBM had, or Bongbong Marcos had, with the media recently, and he answered quite a lot of issues. But let's go first to our program process. And of course, today is January 24, 2023. It's a Tuesday. And we thank you for being subscribers of Cignal TV or our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Maraming salamat po. Hindi po ako super Inglesero. Nagtatagalog din po ako because someone who I met at the Game Foul Expo said, "Sir, matindihan mag-English." Sabi ko, hindi po ako Inglesero. Okay, anyway, as I mentioned, we go on through the process, and let's start with today's Daily Starter, which is very important. As the year began, one of my decisions, or for some of you, you may call it resolution, was to spend the year surrender to the Lord, spend more time with the Lord, consult God on major decisions, all decisions actually. And so our daily starter is from Corrie ten Boom. She is a well-known Dutch lady, spiritual leader, Christian leader. And her question to you is prayer your steering wheel or spare tire? It's a very interesting way of saying things, because many of us always use prayer as a last resort. Ika nga, ginagamit ang dasal o pagdarasal parang salbabida. For those of you who do not know what a salbabida is, it is the interior tire, or it is the tube inside your truck tires that causes the air to contains the air, etc. Kumbaga, ginagamit yan nung panahon namin bilang pang swimming. Those who don't know how to swim use the salbabida. But here's the thing, going back to prayer, do you use prayer as a lifesaver, or do you use prayer as a consultancy session with God? Many of us, me included, we tend to get ahead of ourselves, go ahead with decisions, assumptions, or investments without asking God. And then when the investment is beginning to become sour, unpleasant, or losing, then we start saying, God, please help me, show me the way, what am I supposed to do? So yung sabi ni Corrie ten Boom, steering wheel ba yan o salbabida? Steering wheel gives us direction by asking for direction. Okay, so now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star, January 24, 2023, and the headline is, Inflation keeping me awake at night. Mukhang hindi na natutulog itong si President Bongbong Marcos because just the other day, he said that the West Philippine Sea issue keeps him up at night. Ngayon, inflation is also keeping him up at night. Nako, dapat siguro bigyan natin si President ng melatonin, ng marami-raming melatonin para makatulog naman yung mama. At nako, I may make light of this, but you know, many of us, budget lang ang kulang, hindi na makakatulog yung pakayang presidente ka. So the president says that inflation keeps him awake at night, and that they are doing everything to address the food shortage, particularly in onions and in sugar, etc. But he said that the government will be taking steps to augment these supplies so that prices will go down, but it's not going to happen overnight. Yan po, you see that photo. Imported onions arrive, retail prices drop. The prices of onion have dropped reportedly from 700 pesos to 200 pesos. And there is a photo to the right side of your screen where a vendor was comparing local onions, the small one on her right hand, and the imported onions, presumably from China, on her left hand. Now, that is an unfair comparison or misrepresentation because yung sinasabing maliit na local onion, yan po yung hinarvest ng super early habang mataas pa ang presyo. Okay? Prematurely harvested to take advantage of prices. It's not fair to say that local onions are tiny. Okay, going back to the front page. At the top of the front page, Marcos says no plan to privatize NAIA. Read my lips. No plan to privatize NAIA. President Marcos stated that perhaps Secretary of Transportation Jaime Jimmy Bautista misspoke or was taken out of context or was misquoted. Whatever the case is, it's not only Secretary Bautista who mentioned that. A number of celebrities with and around President Bongbong was talking about this. But the president said in his talk with the media that no private entity can own an airport, or at least that's what he says. Okay, now here's the problem, because there is currently a huge, bigger than any other airport in the Philippines that's being constructed in Bulacan province. So, and it is being constructed by a private corporation, namely San Miguel. So, that's a very interesting statement from the president. Ang ibig ba niyang sabihin ay hindi niya pabubuksan ang San Miguel? Tingnan po natin. Anyway, going back to the statement of the no plan to privatize NAIA, the president also said that they have been in talks with a New York-based company who claims they can improve the operations and number of flight arrivals or departures at NAIA without new buildings, without new runways, without new this or that. So that remains to be seen. So yan po, abangan nyo po yung statement na yan at bantayan nyo because that might open a can of worms. Okay, BBM on the Maharlika Investment Fund. Better to be careful than hasty. President Marcos urged senators yesterday to scrutinize the bill seeking to create the Maharlika Investment Fund, saying the measure done right is more important than having it approved hastily. Okay. And the president is apparently taking that position now that he has presented it to the international community. Eh, syempre nga naman, baka mamaya nyo kamo, binebenta niya yung Maharlika Investment Fund. Pagkatapos, as Senator Coco Pimentel has said, puno pala ng contradiction, sinong mapapahaya? Eh, di si Presidente. Okay. Meanwhile, President Marcos expressed optimism about relations with China, but said there is still no compromise yet on ayungin. Meaning, hindi pa sila nagkakaintindihan. They have not come to a mutual understanding on what to do about Filipino fishermen being harassed, intimidated, and being pushed out of the Ayungan Shoal fishing grounds. Ayan po. So, ayun, sa pagkahaba-haba ng usapan sa China, wala pa rin. Okay. Anyway, fewer foreign travels for BBM this year. Once again, speaking to the media, President Bongbong Marcos said that he and his team of traveling companions and cabinet secretaries, etc., will travel less, okay, in 2023. Although he is scheduled to travel in February, okay, second week of February to Japan. Pero sabi ni Presidente, he will lessen the trips so they can now act on all of the programs, agreements, and plans that were put together in his many other trips all over the world. Yung sa WTO, sa Davos, sa United Nations, etc. And sa China, and sa Indonesia. Okay, so fewer foreign travels for this year. First Lady not influencing me. President Bongbong also said that the First Lady does not influence his decisions, his political decisions, and political appointments. This may be because of the fact that rumor mongers, chismis had been going out that First Lady Lisa Araneta had come into conflict with other government officials over appointments that she allegedly or reportedly endorsed. So, yan po, no? Straight from the horse's mouth, the First Lady does not influence the President. However, in fairness to the First Lady, BBM said that the First Lady is an organizational expert. Okay, so kumbaga, she is helping him organize the office of the president and its related functions for smoother flow, etc. Eh, kung makakatulong naman yung Ali, why not? Okay. Ito po, sad news. Okay. It's too late for you to do anything about it, but better that you know, okay, pump prices up by over 2 pesos. Okay. The various oil companies are implementing a 2 pesos 80 centavos per liter increase for gasoline and 2 pesos 25 centavos per liter of diesel and 2 pesos 40 centavos per liter for kerosene. Nako po, ayan na po. Nagtaasa na ang presyo ng gasolina, ng krudo, etc. So mga biyahero, papalag na naman and magtataasa na naman ang presyo ng mga bilihin. Okay. Meanwhile, ito po, malungkot, very sad story. Once again, another Filipina worker in that place called Kuwait was murdered and her body was burned in the desert and found in the desert as reported by Kuwait media. Okay? That photo is a sad, touching photo of Department of Migrant Workers Secretary Susan Ople consoling the grieving mother of OFW Julie B. Ranara, whose burnt body was found in the Kuwait desert over the weekend. Yan po ay sinserong aksyon yan ni Secretary Toots Ople. I know her personally, and she is really a sincere person, and you can see the emotion in that photo, and I'm sure she is going to take action regarding the matter. Nanawagan na po siya sa Kuwaiti authorities to work on the case and expose who is behind it. Wag na lang po sanang mangyari na ito po ay gawain ng kakilala niya o kabayan. Kasi kung minsan, ganun na nangyayari. Okay, but chances are it's either an employer or a person she knows. Anyway, senators grill Pagcor, Pogo auditor has no business permit. Patay kang bata ka. The private consortium contracted by the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation to audit the Philippine offshore gaming operators was found to be operating without any permanent address or necessary permits and not paying correct income tax in the last 5 years, prompting the State Gaming Corporation or PAGCOR to rescind its small contract lang naman of 6 billion pesos with the firm. Okay, yan po, no? Yan, nagkabistuhan na at nagkaalaman na. Thank you, Senator Win Gatchalian, for this expose and revelation. And like we said, tama na, tapusin na yung pogo na yan at yung pagkor. Palagay ko naman, Senator Win, we need to hold certain officials legally accountable that happened, that you have a 6 billion peso contract with a firm that doesn't have an address, doesn't have a business permit, and doesn't pay taxes. Tinamaan ng ewan, dapat yung mga PAGCOR official isama na sa kaso. Okay, and last but not the least, exhilarating and exceeding expectations daw was how local and foreign tourists described the Iloilo Dinagyang Festival over the weekend, and the photo shows the visitors, including Speaker Martin Romualdez, SM Supermalls President Stephen Tan, First Lady Lisa Araneta Marcos, and Iloilo City Mayor Jerry Treñas. Ayan na po. So, that's up. That's all we have for the front page of the Philippine Star. I do hope you learned a little more today. And please look into the pages of the Philippine Star. Get your copy, subscribe online, and read up, because there are a lot of news that we can't cover here on the program. Okay, so now, as I already said, we are going to talk about that issue where Filipino seafarers, yung mga ating mga marino, ika nga, and seamen may become blacklisted or pushed out of the market because of exorbitant, absurd medical claims, injury claims, etc. We are going to invite someone who is a veteran at the Maritime Industry Authority or MARINA. Gabriel, let's roll out the Betamax, please.
Attorney Sharon Aledo is the Legal Service Director of Maritime Industry Authority or MARINA. She previously worked in other offices in MARINA, including the Domestic Shipping Service, the National Capital Region Office, and the Region 4 Office.
Good morning, Attorney Sharon. Welcome to the program agenda.
Good morning, Sir Cito. Thank you for inviting me. It is my pleasure to be in your show.
Okay, relax lang ha. Kumbaga, ikaw ang professor namin today. Because, to start with, Attorney Sharon, many people don't really know much about the MARINA. Napi-feature lang kayo pag may problema, may lumubog na barko o kaya ay may mga issue katulad nitong pag-uusapan natin regarding seafarers. But what exactly is the MARINA all about? Well, because in American language or TV language, MARINA, is a place where yachts are parked, where people party, mga social, etc. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, parang ano gayang marina na yan?
Yes, sir. It's funny you said I'm Babatanggen, yeah, so it's very familiar.
Okay.
Yes, Sir Cito, MARINA is, of course, Maritime Industry Authority. It is the flag state administration of the Philippines. So basically, our work pertains to issuance of licenses and certificates to seafarers, as well as to shipping operators. So under our charter, which is Presidential Decree 474, the MARINA is focused on safety of life at sea, safety of life and property at sea, and the protection of the marine environment. So just to add more, we regulate the issuance of certificates, like the Certificate of Philippine Registry, the Certificate of Ownership of Ships. We issue also franchises, or we call it Certificate of Public Convenience. And in relation to seafarers, we issue their seafarers record book, seafarers identification document, and of course their certificates of proficiency and all licenses pertaining to their work. So this is basically what MARINA do. We have regional offices nationwide, but our central office is located at the port area. And we have offices in La Union, of course, Batangas, in NCR, Legazpi, Cebu, Iloilo, Tacloban, Cagayan de Oro, Zamboanga, General Santos, and in Surigao. And some other extension and satellite offices located nationwide, Sir Cito. Thank you.
Okay, so it turns out you are the equivalent of the Land Transportation Office and the LTFRB for the sea, pangdagat.
Yes, sir. Yes, Sir Cito.
Okay, now, is it fixed to the sea only, or do you also cover inland rivers katulad ng mga ferry boats, mga katulad ng Pasig River Ferry? Does that also fall under the MARINA, or that's separate, basta freshwater, hindi nyo nasakop?
Included din po yung sa mga rivers and waterways. In fact, in our Maritime Industry Development Program, one of the banner projects is the creation or to develop an inland waterway system so that we can cover like the Pasig River and Laguna Bay. And so it's included, sir. Everything that's floating and everything that's seafarer related, this MARINA's mandate, Sir Cito.
Okay, now, how empowered is the MARINA? Meaning, what kind of support and mandate is given to you to actually meet your goals, your responsibilities? Because a lot of people have lamented the fact that kadami-dami ng isla sa Pilipinas, kadami-dami ng kalawak ng dagat, pero wala tayong dapur, puro tayo bangka.
We have of course bigger ships. Our motor bangkas, or the wooden hull ships, of course, they operate in inter-island, but with our efforts to modernize the Philippine fleet, we have been trying to make sure that more modern ships are deployed and utilized for our riding public. Most of the wooden hulled ships, or the motor bangkas that we were referring to, are now just most of them operating for tourism purposes, for island hopping, diving. But for passenger ferry and cargo services, we have bigger ships. And increasingly, with the policies that we have in MARINA to make sure that the ships are safe and more modern, we have policies that we have already issued in recent years to modernize the fleet, of course.
Okay, now, what is the bulk of MARINA's work? What, sabi nga ni Presidente, di ba? What keeps the MARINA up nights? Kumbaga, ano yung pinagkakaabalahan ninyo? What is the bulk of your work really?
Well, Sir Cito, if I've been listening to you when you said that, of course, inflation is an issue, and it keeps our president up at night. Our work at MARINA, like personally in my case, it also keeps me up at night, because not only are we a regulatory office, our office is particularly the central office is very much involved in policy making and developmental activities. So we come up with policies pertaining safety standards and to comply with the international conventions of the International Maritime Organization that the Philippines is a state party to. So these conventions, like for instance, the Safety of Life at Sea, MARPOL, Tonnage Convention, Collision Regulations. So we have already issued subsidiary legislations in the form of MARINA circulars and advisories and administrative orders to make sure that we are compliant with our responsibility as a state party to these international conventions. So all this, and of course the issuance of licenses and certificates and franchises, this is the bulk of the MARINA's work. And maybe personally, and to some others of my colleagues, this keeps us up all night as well.
Okay, well, I can imagine that you have a few hot spots or a few areas of serious concern. What I can recall from last year was the assessment and please correct me if I'm wrong. No, this is an impression that I read in the news, is that the assessment that the quality of seafarers that we graduate, that we produce, have deteriorated seriously because many of our schools for seafarers, merchant marines, etc., have not invested as they should have not modernized, etc. Although previous secretary countered to that allegation, but that was one of the concerns, yung quality of Filipino seafarers. What is the state of seafarers, and what are we doing about it?
I think, Sir Cito, you're referring to the EMSA audit. And yes, late last year, this has been an issue. Just a short background on that. The EMSA's last audit was March of last year, and we have already submitted our compliance. But this is not, there is no decision as of yet whether our certificates of our seafarers will be recognized. And the MARINA is committed and have made huge efforts in continuously complying with the findings of the EMSA. And so we are now awaiting the decision. And I think in prior months, our executive director for STCW has and our administrator and other officials have discussed it at length and even explained it to the president when we were invited to for an audience. And yes, it's true that it's a cause for concern. However, the MARINA is committed to ensure that we continuously comply with the requirements of the EMSA and, of course, with the requirements of the STCW Convention.
Okay, having been is given that assessment, it was a poor assessment. What has been the result? Are there fewer Filipino seafarers being recruited or being absorbed by international companies, or pare-pareho pa rin?
As far as MARINA is concerned, still our Filipino seafarers who are holding officer positions are still being employed by many foreign ship owners with ships operating under the European flag, so the EU member states. The concern for training and their certification is an issue. However, the MARINA has already submitted, like what I said, our compliance to address these findings. And at present, and in December, we also have the what we call the independent evaluation. This is an evaluation in relation to the IMO, so that to ensure that our training and certification, maritime education and training, is compliant with the STCW Convention. And our colleagues in the STCW office are working hard to be able to submit our compliance with the findings last December. So rest assured that the plight of our seafarers, of course, their employment is something that the MARINA is committed to work on very hard and to make huge efforts so that they will still be employed. And in fact, they are still employed.
So they're still being employed. There has been no reduction in numbers.
Yes,
No serious reduction or observable reduction in the hiring of Filipino seafarers and officers?
For those on board EU flagships, we have seafarers that whose certificates are still certificates of endorsement are still valid, and in fact, we are encouraging them to renew the certificates. So it will be given a validity of another 5 years. But without since the decision of the EMSA, which will be of course taking up at the Committee on Safe Seas, has not yet come out. So cross fingers, we are still relatively okay, and our seafarers, and we are only for EMSA, we are only referring to officers. Of course, our ratings, so long as they are compliant with their certificates and licenses, they will still be employed by foreign flagship owners.
Okay, we'll go for a quick break, Attorney Sharon, and when we come back, let's talk about the other concerns of the MARINA and sila, yung mga international companies concerned about ambulance chasing lawyers, egging Filipino seafarers to make ridiculous demands. Ako naman, ang concern ko yung state of our inter-island ferries and the quality of service. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, let's discuss these things with Attorney Sharon here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and we are joined by Attorney Sharon Aledo, Director, Legal Service, Maritime Industry Authority, or MARINA. Okay, Attorney Sharon, allow me to just read this backgrounder for our viewers. Ambulance chasing is the practice of persuading someone who was injured on the job to seek monetary damages against the responsible party. Ambulance chasers seek large settlements for even minor injuries because the lawyers get bigger percentages of the compensation. The International Maritime Employers Council, or IMEC, said that the practice of ambulance chasing among lawyers has led to a decrease in Filipinos being hired by maritime employers. IMEC warned that Filipino seafarers are at risk of not being able to come aboard shipping vessels in the next 10 years if industry issues are not addressed. Ano po ang reaction ng MARINA dito sa press release na ere?
Thank you, Sir Cito. We have been we have heard of this pronouncements, and in fact, I think this has been referred to the president in his recent trip to Brussels, and it is indeed a cause for concern because, like what you said, the lawyers or their subordinates or representatives or agents persuade our seafarers who may be injured on the job to seek monetary damages from these responsible company ship owners or parties. Mm-hmm. And recently, and then in last year, the MARINA has been engaged in communicating as well with the manning agencies for purposes of enhancing our information drive, so that seafarers and their families will be aware of this practice. Mm-hmm. As we know, this is maybe in other words called barratry, because of the practice of these people who go after the injured person, and that's why going to the emergency room, actually, that's why it's called ambulance chasing. Mm-hmm. But like what I said,
ginagawa rin yun ng mga punerarya eh. Nakaabang dun sa ICU o kaya dun sa emergency room, nag-aabang ng kliyente.
That is true po. And of course, for lawyers, and of course my colleagues in the profession know this, it is a violation of the Code of Professional Responsibility of our Code of Professional Responsibility, mm-hmm. because it's an unethical practice, mm-hmm. and it should be dissuaded. Yeah. However, it happens because our seafarers, some of them, they are not that knowledgeable on insurance claims, mm-hmm. and someone who is injured, of course, they feel like they have to be treated. So sometimes with their emotions, they are able to be sweet talked, mm-hmm. by lawyers or their agents to claim monetary damages that are even like what you said for minor injuries. Mm-hmm. So that and then of course the lawyers or agents, they get hefty fees once the award has been or the compensation has been awarded, or through amicable settlement or compromise agreement. These lawyers get hefty fees.
Attorney Sharon, has there been a study, investigation, report looking into this. Kasi, pwedeng mag-claim yung organization that we have so many headaches with lawyer, ambulance chasers, and Filipino seafarers, but it has to be backed with facts. Now, for the part of the Marina, an investigation, I presume, would be in the works or it has been done to find out who are these seafarers, what were the claims, who are these lawyers, to determine if there are indeed lawyers who are unethically, unprofessionally specializing on these injury claims and creating a potential threat and blacklisting of Filipino seafarers. Kasi kumbaga, kung napaimbestigahan na yan sa NBI o sa CIDG or the Marina, we would have something to start with.
Sir Cito, the Marina has, it is not part of our mandate actually to discipline such lawyers. Although, of course, we have been involved in some studies.
Yeah, I know. The discipline of the lawyers is with the IBP.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is here the mandate of the Marina is the welfare of the seafarers and the legitimate deployment. But because of this unprofessional, unethical operations of certain lawyers, the Marina and the seafarers are going to be hit. So I'm just presuming that siguro kayo yung mag-iimbestiga nandyan. Totoo ba itong sinasabi nitong IMEC na ito?
We are involved at the Marina as the one that issues seafarer licenses, and of course we are engaged in maritime education and training. Mm-hmm. However, seafarers protection and welfare is with the Department of Migrant Workers.
Naku po, patay tayo dyan. Ayan na naman, na-compartmentalize na naman. So, kayo, licensing lang po kami. Kami po yung training kung paano sila magmaneho ng vapor o maghila ng angkla. Pero, pag
that is our mandate po under Republic Act 10635, the Marina being as the single maritime administration, but for seafarers protection. But of course, we engage in information drive, and in fact, our regional offices engage through multi-sector advisory meetings seafarers to be able to inform them of the effects of and what ambulance chasing is, or the effects of this to their employment. And of course, the seafarers and their families have to be, like what I said, they are not too knowledgeable on claims. And,
so whose responsibility are the actual claims? Because welfare, you said, is Department of Migrant Workers. But what about itong injury claim? It's all part of them being seafarers, licensed seafarers. Parang there's a gray area here. Kanino bang responsibility dyan?
The claims is the responsibility, of course, of the seafarer who is injured on the job. So, yeah.
And of course, their manning agency, correct?
And the ship owners.
And the manning agency and the ship owners fall under the Marina, not the Department of Migrant Workers.
Yes.
Okay, so meron pa rin kayong karapatan to
yes, sir. Of course,
look into the claims. Pero pag nagdemanda na, kumuha na ng ambulansyang abogado de ambulansya, sino nang may control nun?
The discipline of lawyers, as you rightly pointed out, is with, of course, Supreme Court and the Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And in Marina, we have a policy. It's a Marina Circular MD 2019-01, and we can this particular policy or circular makes sure that before seafarers record book or SRB and seafarers identification document or SID are cancelled or revoked, the twin requirements have to be present. So it works this way, sir. Okay. The manning agencies once that they have paid disability compensation for total permanent disability of a seafarer, they will write to MARINA and make a request for the cancellation of the SRB and SID of the said seafarer, so that they can no longer work on board a ship. So considering that the seafarer is totally and permanently disabled, then disability compensation is awarded to them, and they will be paid. And but under our circular MD 2019-01, there has to be the twin requirements have to be present. First is that full disability compensation has been granted or has been paid, and that a declaration of a competent medical practitioner that the seafarer is actually declared permanently disabled has to be submitted, and we carefully evaluate this evidence before we put the name of the seafarer on the watch list system of MARINA, and before we issue a decision that the seafarer's SRB and SID are cancelled or revoked.
So, yun na yung third requirement, that you decide that it's revoked.
Yes, we issue a decision, Sir Cito.
Yeah. Okay.
Before, because this is we are referring to their
but you were,
livelihood.
Sharon, you were mentioning, yung kwento mo kasi kanina was about permanent disability. Kumbaga, lumpo na talaga, hindi na talaga makakatrabaho. But what is the complaint of the IMEC? They said even minor injuries, etc. What is the process ba? If a seafarer is injured, not permanently disabled, but injured and cannot work for several months, okay? Does the seafarer who does he report to for claims? And if he files charges or complaints in a court, does he have to inform the MARINA, the manning agency, etc., or bahala na si Batman?
Sir Cito, the seafarer informs his or her manning agency. Okay. And they may enter into compromise agreement, and through the National Conciliation Mediation Board or the National Labor Relations Commission. And once the NCMB or the NLRC makes an award that there is and determine that there is a total permanent disability, then it is only the time when the seafarer, through the manning agency, informs MARINA that the seafarer is totally and permanently disabled, so that his SRB or SID should be cancelled. And
wala ba kayo yung parang menu ng PhilHealth, where in the PhilHealth, this kind of disease, this is the package. This kind of disease, this is the package. What about in terms, I may sound funny, but I'm serious, Sharon, because it would simplify the claims. It's like, kasi sa insurance may ganun lose one finger, lose two fingers, you lose the left hand or the both hands or your right eye or your left eye. Meron silang compensation package sa ganyan, at least in the past, that would simplify. Do we have anything like that?
So relatedly, this is in the labor code and in the POEA standard employment contract. Actually, under the POEA guidelines, the only grade 1 disability is total and permanent. Grades 2 to 14 may be permanent, but these are temporary, but permanent disability for grades 2 to 14. In which case, the seafarer may still recover from such illness or injury. Yeah. And it is with the NCMB and NLRC where such evidence, whether the... Yeah,
but I think, Sharon, that's the problem that international companies have. The minute they have to take time out to go to the NLRC, the mediation boards, etc. wala ba niyan sa MARINA na special body to just address this? And that, parang di ba companies, meron sila yung contract that in the event of a legal dispute, the signatories agree to go to a Makati court. Or indeed, ikaw yung abogado, di ba? May ganun doon?
Pursuant, sir, to our mandate, it's not an office or a body that exists in MARINA.
Ayun.
Considering that our primary mandate, of course, we are engaged in activities referring to seafarer protection in coordination with the DMW and the manning agencies, but no such body exists in MARINA to investigate these lawyers.
Life is
encourage them to like file complaints or administrative cases with the Supreme Court.
I understand that, Sharon. I'm just making the suggestion because ultimately, if our seafarers are banned from the global market because all the companies decided to put up a cartel against the Philippines because we are just such a pain in the ass, then even the MARINA is going to lose its mandate to look after the seafarers kasi without jobs, seafarers become obsolete. But anyway, before we run out of time, Sharon, and ayaw naman kitang bigyan ng problema, no? Pinag-uusapan lang. Because people need to understand why is it an issue, di ba? The companies don't like going to court because their lawyers cost so much money. It's not like the Philippines where it is relatively affordable. Now, okay, meron pa tanong to. Sir, from desk po, hindi po ba magiging job discrimination towards Philippines yun? I mean, that's what we're already talking about, right? That we will be discriminated if we don't address this problem, correct?
It is a concern, sir, that because I mean, if our Filipino seafarers are discriminated against because of the existing compensation system, claims system in the Philippines at present, but their ambulance chasing also exists in other countries, and not only particular in the Philippines, but I mean, our seafarers are competent, they are qualified, and of course they engage in reskilling, and we at the MARINA, we ensure that we give only licenses and certificates to qualified and competent seafarers pursuant to the STCW convention requirements, and so it is, yes, it can be said to be discrimination, not only like what is happening in other areas, and not only as to age, but and I hope this particular matter is addressed, and licensed manning agencies, and in fact actually ALMA, which is an organization composed of about 71 manning agencies, are very much involved and engaged in the drive to inform seafarers, even in the pre-departure orientation, and in fact their families.
Okay, so
that this practice should be curbed.
Okay, so you or the MARINA recognizes the fact that the ambulance chasing practice has become a serious problem, correct?
It is a cause for concern, Mr. C.
Okay, now, in the event that an international body or group like IMEC, the employers group, declare we don't want Filipino seafarers because they're too much of an expense and a legal headache, can the Philippines appeal that to an international body? Is there a body on top of that organization where we can appeal this if ever, God forbid, we get blacklisted from the international market?
So there is the International Labor Organization, And in fact, the ILO has come out with documents and activities that actually inform as well, not only Filipino seafarers but all stakeholders in this regard of the practice, and so we can inform them, the ILO, and I think to address this concern, and of course all stakeholders involved know this. It should be a whole of country approach. The different agencies that are given various mandates in relation to seafarers have to work together, and even with it's a tripartite solution. The ship owners, the manning agencies, and the government have to work together, have to seriously look into this. And of course, the Marina is committed to work with our stakeholder partners. And on our part, we have stakeholders consultation, public consultation, and we remind them of these issues. But there are also other avenues, like in their pre-departure orientation, and the manning agencies can very much involve themselves in that.
Well, don't worry, Miss Sharon, Attorney Sharon, because kasama mo kami. Ika nga sa sabungan sa lipa. Kabakas mo kami. Kabakas nyo kami. We support the Marina, and we are calling on the IBP, Integrated Bar of the Philippines. Please look into this, because a handful of unscrupulous lawyers will ruin the reputation of the legal profession, but even worse, ruin and displace so many seafarers. Okay, Attorney Sharon Aledo, thank you very much for your time this morning, ma'am.
You're welcome, sir. And again, thank you. It's my pleasure to be in your show. Salamat po.
God bless you. Okay, let's now go to our blessing for the week. And it is my personal prayer for all of you, our viewers. May your faith and prayers rise up to God, and may miracles and answered prayers be a daily occurrence in your life. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us here on Agenda, and asking you, please pray for us and keep it here on One News.